Boop. Happy Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, February the 3rd, 2021, and today's daily Bible readings come to us from Psalm 35, 1 through 10, Jeremiah 29, 1 through 14, Mark 5, 1 through 20, and I'm going to look at Mark 5, 1 through 20 and talk about all these little piggies that end up running into the sea and drown. It's a tragedy, especially if you love barbecue. Had some last night. It was pretty good. So this story, part of what we always focus on, I think, is this whole thing, this deal with the demons, because that's, I guess, the cool part of the text that everybody always wants to focus on. And these demons, they know who Jesus is. Remember, the whole story is that they're tormenting this guy. This guy is possessed, not just by one, not just by two, but by a legion of them. And they drive him out into the hillsides, into this kind of what was a Gentile area, and he's living out among the tombs. So he's unclean because he's presumably a Gentile, living in a Gentile area, out among the tombs. So he's out among dead people, dead things. So that makes him unclean, presumably among the pigs because there's a herd of swine nearby. And Jesus comes to this guy in the midst of all this, right? In the midst of all this confusion and uproar and turmoil, and the guy's like apparently beating himself to death with rocks, right? That's because that's just what the demons like to do. That's how they kill time, I guess. So anyway, Jesus appears in the area, and this man, like the demons know who Jesus is, right? It's no secret to them, and so they have this conversation. I won't get into that because hey, you can read, and they say to him, they're very concerned about what he's going to do. And he orders them to be quiet, orders them out of the guy. And they're very concerned that he's going to kick them out of the country completely. And it's interesting to me because they were more afraid of having to leave that country, that area, than they were afraid of, going and living in a herd of pigs. So what's with that? Makes me really wonder what it was about that country that they found so attractive and why they felt it was so important that they stay there. But, that's probably not the point of this story, because after all, this legion who controlled one man, it took this legion of demons to control this one man. They couldn't keep control of a herd of swine, and they end up like the swine I guess the swine are like, I know how to take care of this, and they all drown themselves. And so I don't know what happened to them after that. But then again, they're kind of only, I think, tangentially part of the story, because the real point of the story, I should say, not just point. The point of the story is this man's deliverance. His deliverance from insanity to sanity, from harm to help, from shame to honor. Because he ends up sitting at the feet of Jesus, right? He ends up going from being homeless to going home. He ends up from being just a pointless person to having purpose. He's given a purpose. And so the question is, he's delivered, and delivered for what? The man we're told at the end of this, he wanted desperately to follow Jesus. Jesus is getting in the boat, and the man shows up and is like, me too, where do I sit? And Jesus has to tell him that this isn't for him, that's not meant for him. But the story doesn't end there, because Jesus gives him a job to do, right? Jesus has delivered him to something, right? He doesn't just deliver people and walk away from them like, okay, you're good now. No, he delivers you for a purpose, to a point. And not a purpose as in, there's only one thing you can do with your life and it's written in this big book. No, the point is to share with other people what it is that Jesus has done for you, what it is that God has done for you. And that's what he tells this guy. He says, go and tell. Leave this place that I delivered you from, go back home and tell them everything that God has done for you. Tell them how much mercy God has showed you. And that becomes apparently the whole point of this guy's life. The whole point of the story is that he goes on and he spreads this word to everyone in this region called the Decapolis. It basically means 10 cities. And so the guy has one message. He's got one sermon. And he preaches it everywhere because Jesus told him to tell everybody what had happened to him. Told him to tell everyone what God had done for him and how merciful God was. So I guess my question, and maybe the point of this story is, what's your sermon? Well, that's the DBR for today. We'll be back tomorrow. Go out, have a good day. We'll talk to you later. Boop.